Aimerduk YouTube, welcome back to a new video with Rams fan YT. Today we're looking at series 3 of the history of your club, the first episode of this new series. Before we get into the history of Accrington Stanley, just a kind, gentle reminder just to say I'm doing a 10k run this Sunday for the charity Upbeat Communities, which does loads of amazing stuff for refugees and asylum seekers across Derby City and maybe even nationally. I'm not entirely sure. So if you'd like to sponsor me, there is a link in the description. And one other thing, just so I know before the next video of the history of your club, will you like to see the history of Wimbledon as well as AFC Wimbledon, or just the history of AFC Wimbledon? Okay, let's get into it. Accrington had been without a football team following the collapse of the original Accrington Stanley in 1966. The original team had been formed in 1891 and played in the Football League from 1921 to March 1962, but had spent its final 4 seasons in the Lancashire Combination. At a meeting at Bold Street Working Men's Club in 1968, the revival was initiated, and in August 1970, the club played at a new ground, the Crown Ground. Eric Wally, a local businessman, took control of the club in 1995 and began development of the club's ground. After the club was relegated in 1999, Wally appointed John Coleman as manager. The club's rise to the Football League is attributed in part to the windfall of hundreds of thousands of pounds reaped by the sell-on clause in the December 2001 transfer of former Stanley star Brett Ormerod to Southampton, which paid Blackpool over £1 million for his contract. Stanley had taken £50,000 from Blackpool in 1997, with the agreement that Blackpool would pay Accrington a quarter of what it might have received if it had transferred Ormerod to another team. The 2002-3 Championship of the Northern Premier League followed quickly on Accrington getting the cash. In May 2003, the club was promoted for the first time in the history to the Football Conference, following its win of the Northern Premier League. The club's first ever game in the league was away to another reformed club, Aldershot Town, on the Sunday, the 10th of August 2003. The game was shown live on Sky Sports and resulted in a 2-1 loss. The season was a success, with a final league position of 10th being achieved. The highlight of that season, in the 5th tier, was a run to the FA Cup third round, losing in a replay at League One side Colchester United. In 2004, Accrington Stanley turned professional. The following 2004-05 season, Stanley yet again achieved a final position of 10th place, with Stanley legend Paul Mullin amongst the top goal scorers yet again, adding another 20 to his tally. Stanley's stay in the conference didn't last long, with the club returning to the Football League at the end of the 2005-06 season. Finishing on 91 points, the club went on a 19-game unbeaten run, stretching from October to March, leaving the club an easy passage to League Two. The likes of Paul Mullin, Rob Elliott and Gary Roberts led the club back to the league after 46 years away. The club's first Football League game took place on the 5th of August 2006, away to now defunct club Chester City. It resulted in a 2-0 loss. The club was involved in a relegation battle throughout its first season in the 4th tier. A run of 5 wins in the last 9 games of the season led to a 20th place finish, and was enough to save the club from relegation in its first season back in the Football League. Highlights of that first season back included the club's first ever Football League Cup match against former European Cup winners Nottingham Forest. The game resulted in a 1-0 win, leaving the club a second round away tie against then Premier League team Watford, eventually losing 6-5 on penalties after a 0-0 draw and extra time. The club also took part in the Football League Trophy for the first time as a league club, after playing in the 2 previous seasons as one of 12 conference sides, beating Bradford City away in September 2004. And after defeating Carlisle United and Blackpool in early rounds, they were knocked out by Doncaster Rovers in the area quarter-finals. The 2007-08 season produced more of the same, with the club involved in another relegation battle, with strugglers Chester City, Wrexham and Mansfield Town. 5 wins in the final 12 games were enough to secure a 17th place finish, and another season of the 4th tier of English football. However, the club failed to win a game in the FA Cup and League Cup, losing to Huddersfield Town and Leicester City respectively. Performances during the 2008-9 season improved, with the club achieving a modest 16th place finish in League Two. A run of 6 league wins in the last 12 games was a nice way to finish the season. This season saw the emergence of young prospect Bobby Grant, who finally fulfilled the early promise seen in the previous seasons. The club again failed to make it past the early round of any domestic cups, losing in the first round to Wolverhampton Wanderers in the League Cup and Tranmere Rovers in both the FA Cup, albeit after a replay, and the Football League trophy. The 2009-10 season was far better, with the club pushing for a playoff place at the turn of the year. A run of 9 wins in 10 league games saw the club with a chance of making the playoffs, only for this to fade in March/April time. The emergence of the Michael Sims and Bobby Grant partnership was a key aspect, and following their achievements throughout the season, both moved on to bigger clubs. In terms of cup performance, the club was superb, reaching the second round of the League Cup, losing only 2-1 to Queen's Park Rangers, the quarter-finalists of the Football League trophy, losing 2-0 to Leeds United, and the fourth round of the FA Cup, losing 3-1 to Premier League team Fulham. The club reached the Football League 2 playoffs during the 2010-11 season, one of the most successful in its history. A run of 1 loss in 19 games from February till May saw the club finish in a best-ever 5th position, eventually losing to League 2 newcomers Stevenage in the playoff semi-finals. The season saw the emergence of Jimmy Ryan as a star in the making, along with a number of others including goalkeeper Alex Sisak and midfielder Sean McConville. In the domestic cup, Stanley reached the second round of the League Cup, losing 3-2 to Premier League team Newcastle United. The club actually won the first round game of the Football League trophy away to Tranmere Rovers, but was then forced to resign from the competition after fielding the ineligible Ray Puteril in the game. The club also reached the second round of the FA Cup, but lost to fellow League Two side Port Vale. 2011-12 was a season of transition for the club. The loss of no less than 6 of the playoff-chasing side of the previous season was a tough act to follow. Following a shaky start to the season, the arrival of Brian Hughes in October transformed the club's fortunes. A run of 6 wins in 7 games over the Christmas period saw the club briefly enter the playoffs. However, following the sale of club captain Andrew Proctor to Preston North End in January 2012 transfer window, the third longest-serving management team of John Coleman and Jimmy Bell departed for Rochdale. Former Burnley and club favourite Paul Cook was brought in as manager, along with the promotion of Liam Richardson from caretaker manager to full-time assistant. Only 3 wins in the final 17 games of the season was a pretty poor finish to the season. However, this meant the club achieved a solid mid-table finish in 14th position. In terms of domestic cups, Stanley exited both the League Cup and the FA Cup in the first round stages, losing to Scunthorpe United and Notts County respectively. The club reached the second round of the Football League trophy after knocking out holders Carlisle United, but lost to Tranmere Rovers in the second round after an eventual replay. This was following a serious head injury to young defender Thomas Bender in the initial tie. On the 28th of October 2015, the board of Accrington Stanley voted to approve local businessman Andy Holt's takeover of the club. Holt, whose company Whatmore UK, sponsored and still sponsor Stanley's Wham Stadium, and they attained a majority share of 75% in Accrington Stanley, in return for clearing the club's £1.2 million debt, as well as providing the club with further funds of £600,000. Stanley's chairman, Peter Marsden, remained as chairman, whilst 5 new people joined the club's board. At the time of the takeover, Stanley had been on the verge of folding due to crippling debts and its inability to fund day-to-day running costs, including wages and its suppliers. Due to its precarious financial situation, the club had been accepting sponsorship deals at a value lower than what should have been demanded. Holt's involvement with Stanley began in July 2015 when Holt attended Stanley's pre-season friendly at home against local rivals Burnley, in which they won 4-2. It was during this game that Holt got an insight into the dire state of Stanley, having discovered that the club's bar was unable to serve spectators as a result of its failure to pay its suppliers. In his first season as owner of the club, the 2015-16 Football League 2 season, the club narrowly missed out on promotion to League 1 on the final day of the season, having been held to a 0-0 draw, yet again, with Stevenage. Stanley were then defeated in the semi-final of the League 2 playoffs, losing 3-2 on aggregate to AFC Wimbledon, with Wimbledon going on to defeat Plymouth Argyle 2-0 in the playoffs finals. At the end of the season, Stanley lost several of its players who had helped them spur on to a promotion push, such as Tom Davis, Ross Etheridge, and Josh Windass, who had agreed contracts with clubs in a position to offer higher wages than Stanley had been able to. With Windass and Crooks being under 24, Stanley received £120,000 for the duo's transfer to Rangers. During the 2016-17 pre-season, Stanley made several improvements to the facilities on offer at the Crown Ground, including the replacement of vendors with its own in-house service. It was also during the 2016-17 pre-season that Stanley's chairman Marsden stepped down after a decade at the helm of the club. Marsden was replaced by Holt in the position. In the following 2016-17 Football League 2 season, Stanley finished mid-table in 30th position, having struggled to replicate its promotion push from the season before. The club had, however, enjoyed a run to the fourth round of the FA Cup, with a 1-0 defeat away to Middlesbrough, putting an end to their cup campaign. It was during the 2017-18 Football League season that Stanley gained promotion to League 1 with a 2-0 win over Yeovil Town on the 17th of April 2018, sealing the League 2 title for the club. In their first season in League 1, Stanley went on to a stable mid-table finish, ending the season in 14th place. In January 2020, Stanley icon Billy Key announced his retirement from professional football. Having battled with mental health issues that had seen Key last appear for Stanley the previous season, in honour of the forward, Stanley announced to retire Key's 29th shirt. Just on a side note, Stanley was named because of it was based at Stanley Working Men's Club on a street called Stanley Street, with a club called Stanley Villa already existing. And Stanley Villa actually took the name of Accrington Stanley when Accrington demised. But that's why they're one of the only clubs, I think the only club called Stanley in the whole country. So thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you're new around here. That would be hugely appreciated. Got the best National League North and South transfers coming up on Friday. And then up to you whether I include Wimbledon or not. Remember to leave that in the comment section. But the history of AFC Wimbledon, certainly. But goodbye for now.